Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So guys, I want to try something, and I have to be honest, I don't even quite know how to try it or to do it. Let's talk about it, and we'll go from there. I would like to organize workers. Look around, and you can see all of these disparate groups, all of these people looking for something. Progressives have finally walked out. They stomped their feet and said, "No, goddamn it, I don't want any part of this," and they left. That presents a dilemma. If you're not voting for a Democrat, you're not voting for a Republican. Who are you voting for? And not voting should not be an option. It shouldn't be an option. Which means that if you need to put somebody in there, you need to take the wheel. How do you take the wheel? You take the wheel with political power. What is your power base? What is your power base? Your power base is based in class. It's based in the people of your particular class, which is pretty much 98% of the population. You go to those people. You organize those people. You're not even trying to form a union. You're looking for political alignment. Meaning, I would love to, in fact, I may even try to do this. I may try to crowdfund this with one goal: organize workers. Get those people unified from state to state to state, one city after the next. It's not based on identity politics. It's purely based on economics. This is the goddamn floor for what we'll expect as Americans. And get those people on your side. Those people are getting robbed. Those people are getting amazingly exploited. That company is bringing in billions. And every time Walmart puts itself in some community, it destroys all the local stores in those particular communities, and it drains money from the coffers of that particular city. Ultimately, because they pay their people so poorly, many of those people have to take on essentially extra jobs or get government services. Even though they're working a full day, they're still getting government support. That's an amazing thing. So yeah, in those particular situations, those people are being exploited one after the next. The majority of the jobs in this country are minimum wage, not minimum wage, but are low wage jobs. The other jobs are not coming back. It doesn't work that way. Automation and everything else, productivity, is cheaper to send those jobs overseas. All the incentives go towards getting rid of workers. That's the dilemma to which you face. That's your dilemma. Now, when you're having a conversation with these guys, do you believe that they don't know that they're being exploited? Like, do you believe that when they get up that morning, they understand they're going to have to subordinate themselves for X number of hours for minimal pay, and they're going to wake up in the morning and do it again? They're not having the full expression of what it means to be a person. They're turned into cogs in a goddamn wheel purely for the sake of profit of somebody else. Certainly, that is not the way a society should be run, and yet that is the madness that goes on in our particular society. If you want that to change, you need to organize those people. I think those people need a spark. I honestly do. I look at this public and I think to myself, why are you suffering through this? Why are you putting these people in office that are behaving this way towards you? Why are you wasting $1 trillion on military, killing other people? Your streets are crumbling. Your roads are horrendous. Your trains are still back in the 60s. You're being left behind. And you're being left behind mainly because of the ideas that persist in this particular country about this particular country. And not being able to get to the point of saying, yeah, we need to take action. And I understand, you get bogged down just because in the days of life, you're focused on your tasks. I need to make enough to eat, sleep, and everything else. I don't have the time to think about this other stuff. But it's the other stuff that's affecting what your life is, what your experience is. If you're going to those people and the only thing you want from those people is political alignment, I'm not asking you to do anything. I'm not asking you to give me any money. I'm asking you, let me help. Help us, all of us. Let's help ourselves. Take that message from worker to worker to worker. You're going to get a percentage of those workers who are also going to be willing to take that message to other workers. The whole point of the organization is to create a web throughout the country and use that as a political instrument, essentially allowing those people to make a vote. Meaning when those people go to the polls, when those people vote, those people are voting in unison for a particular issue. Imagine for the moment, if African Americans voting 90% for Hillary Clinton is abominable. That's abominable. You should be ashamed of yourself for doing that. But imagine if you had that number of people who held their vote until it went to a candidate who they actually believed in, not somebody who they were scared of. that is political power. That's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for the stuff of the lesser evil. I'm done with that conversation. I'm done with those conversations. The people who put up need to have something more about themselves, and the people who are voting for those people need to hold those people accountable. I'm saying organizing workers and getting these guys into the political process and getting their voice heard and asserted. That is your only path to changing this stuff. I know they have Justice Democrats, all this stuff. That's fine. But that's not going to get you there. Organizing workers gets you there. That's the only way you're going to get there. Those people are being robbed, those people have been exploited, and those people know they've been exploited. And they're a tinderbox. You can hit that tinderbox, but you have to hit it right, which means you need a certain amount of focus, effort in doing it. I've got to be honest, I don't necessarily know how to hit the tinderbox in that way. I figure I can learn anything, and maybe it just starts off with going to a store, having a conversation with some of the workers. Creating a website. Yeah. Creating a website. And getting people on board of trying to go out and have conversations with people in those places. I mean, ultimately, I would imagine that donations will start coming in if the thing is a success. But the important part of it is having enough resources to be able to do that in city after city after city and create a web throughout the United States. That is literally a political revolution. Because ultimately, those people can have all sorts of differences. But the core things that they agree on is the bottom level that they're willing to go in regards to supporting any particular candidate. If you have enough workers who say, yes, I agree with this particular vision of the country. It's not everything I want, but it's damn better than everything else. You may have Greens, socialists, Marxists, libertarians. You may have Democrats on your side to some degree. Particularly if the issue that you're talking about is how does this affect me in a socioeconomic way? If you're a libertarian, look, dude, I don't care what you do. I'm leaving you to devices. I like to be left to my own devices, too. But yes, there's going to be some aspect of tax involved in the process just because it's a capitalistic system. But ultimately, your freedom, for the most part, is ensured, and you get the majority of the things that you want on the other side. If you're green, if you're socialist, again, those issues, for the most part, are focused squarely on economics. But certainly when you get in office, of course that's your bearing. Of course that's your bearing. I'm saying that that's not the thing you run on, though. The thing that you run on is the thing that affects the people's wallet. Once you get into that office, you can do whatever the hell you want as long as you're still attending to their wallet. The point I'm making to you is a green, a socialist, a leftist. If he can do that, he can appease that group. That group doesn't care about this other stuff. He can appease that group, which means they would allow you to do your environmental stuff. They would allow you to do these other things. Whether you realize it or not, Republicans, when they vote for another Republican, they're screwing themselves over in that vote. They're voting for that Republican in spite of what they're going to do to them. They may make up these ideas that they're somehow benefiting by voting for this guy, but ultimately their vote is a cultural vote. There's no reality to the vote. They're doing it against their own self-interest. They have to overcome something to do that. I mean, granted, they don't realize they need to overcome something to do it, but that's what's happening. I'm saying if you're changing that to self-interest in the same way that they're okay with saying, look, if you allow me to be me, you're not trying to change me or anything else. I'm a Republican. Leave me to my devices. Fine. But in allowing you to be you and leaving to your devices, I'm going to pass this healthcare thing, or I'm going to gut this healthcare thing, and I'm going to lower taxes for my banks and everything else. This stuff mattered more to this guys, allowing them to do the other stuff. I'm saying that it's the same thing. Once you get into that office, if you're attending to their needs economically, it gives you political clout to do other stuff. Of course, if you're a green, if you're a Marxist, if you're a socialist, you're going to start looking around and say, okay, we need to do something about this global warming thing. But ultimately, you've made sure that your bet, the thing that you started with, was economics. And you made sure that economics was on point and on the agenda first, before anything else. That is how you get unity. That is how you get people to your cause. You focus on a specific issue that all you guys can rally around. We can quibble about the other stuff, but right here, this is a core foundation. This is a constitution. This is what we want. This is the base level of things that we want. Anything else, we can argue over. But right here, it doesn't go beyond this point. This is our red line. This box. We don't move from there. Yeah, that's what I want. And I want to be able to get that throughout the country. And I guess the test case would be to try it in Richmond first, where I live. Yeah, I don't know how to start that. I know how to start that. I do think I'm going to start a crowdsource funded, though. And if I had enough resources to actually do that and pursue that full time. Because if we're talking about changing the political process, it takes something else. I just don't think workers would turn around and just all of a sudden do something. They've been oppressed. They've been under assault for 50, 60 years in a sense. If you look at the numbers for productivity versus the numbers that these guys are getting, their real wages haven't budged or barely budged. Organize them. Organize workers. Organize workers. You can create a massive political force if you have all of those people disenfranchised, all of those people, and he's living in these existences where they're working multiple jobs, not being able to express the individuality of who they are. Their labor is exploited, and you've taken something that's a human, that's a interesting and creative thing, and turn it into this tool to use for very specific ends, shutting off all of the other individualities they purely want for the skill of this one particular task to which they're paid a menial sum. You're diminishing yourself purely because you need to eat. That is not a system we should be in. That's not a system we should be in. And I would hope that woman being put in that situation, and that situation is replicated all throughout the United States. These service jobs. Working at Burger King, working at McDonald's, working at 7-Eleven, working at Old Navy. And then at a certain point, even those jobs under pressure as they start putting robots into those positions. Workers, unite. All of us have a similar voting interest. Even if we disagree on certain things, ultimately, there can be some arrangement in regards to this is the base level of the society we want. And I guarantee you that base level of society is further to the left than anybody would realize. When you ask people poll by poll by poll, usually those things are in a progressive standpoint, or at the very least, to the left, far to the left of where we are even now. It's a reason why all those independents stopped voting. What they wanted wasn't on the ballot. You organize those workers and you get those things on the ballot. So, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm going to start a crowdfunding account. I'm going to put up a quick website. And I'm going to ask for funding to help crowdsource an organized workers party, I guess, or organized workers, some kind of organization. I need to think about it. If you guys have advice on it, let me know. I don't necessarily know how to do this. I don't know how to do the organizing thing. But I do want to do something, because it doesn't seem like anything is being done. And I understand they have Justice Democrats, they have brand new Congress and all this other stuff. But these guys are still using the political apparatus in a way that I don't know what their results are going to be. If you want pressure, the reason why FDR passed those New Deal laws, he thought he was going to be taken out by something else, meaning a socialist or one of these other parties that were out there that were further to the left than him. The things that he did was appease the populace, making this point that if you had a populace that was engaged in the political process, those structures of power that you believe oppress you would fall away. Those things are fickle. The fact that Donald Trump got in office is somewhat of a testament to the fact that the process still does work. Nobody wanted Trump in that office, and yet Trump got into that office because people voted him in. Meaning, if you had organization, if you had a sustained effort of workers and people who say, okay, this is what I want. When we put somebody up, that guy is going to do that specific thing at the very least. If he decides to do other stuff, fair enough, but goddamn, he's going to do this part. That's when you change things. That's when you get a political revolution. That's when you get the population making the decision of, hey, yeah, maybe class is an issue. Maybe class is an issue. Maybe that is something we need to talk about, we need to discuss. And maybe the political apparatus needs to be changed so it's in the benefit of us, the 99%. That's how you acquire power, I would imagine. Organization, not necessarily just putting a guy in office. Putting a guy in office is fine, but having pressure against that guy in office where he knows I will be out on my ass and those guys will let me fail and lose. It's cutthroat, but it is politics. It's 101. It is the agenda that we need to accomplish as progressives. If somebody comes up that you don't like, no, you're not getting my vote. If that Republican wins, then goddamn it, that Republican wins. You have a fundamental level to which I refuse not to go. These are the red lines that I have. You follow these red lines, and yes, you might be able to get my vote. My point is, I would like a number of people, millions of people, taking that position of saying, no. If you're putting somebody up that is against our values, no. I don't care if you lose. I don't care if you lose. We lose if you get your particular shit, your If you get your particular shill in office, we lose. If they get their shill in office, we lose. Both of those things are a losing choice. The only person who I'm closest to politically, yeah, you're not getting my cosign on somebody who's worse. You'll get my cosign if that person actually was better and actually solved the particular issue or had the capacity to solve a particular issue that she's presented with. This stuff is a fantasy. This stuff is a fantasy. So, yes, I would prefer to organize workers. I would prefer to get those people kind of politically aligned, all creating almost like a fabric throughout the entire country. And maybe that becomes a party, actually. Maybe what I'm thinking of is a party. But see, the party thing is a little different. I feel like having the worker thing allows pressure on the political system itself. Meaning whoever they put up, that particular person is pressured from day one to take a particular task. And it's clear and it's understood by the millions of people in the organization that if you vote against our will, we will vote your ass out. If you can organize a large percentage of workers, that carries weight. That is the tail wagging the dog. It's the tail wagging the dog. That is a way to acquire political power or political influence. Starting a party is one thing. Going through the Democratic Party, like Justice Democrats, is another thing. But I think power in that sense is fickle. Meaning, you have a power base that's in need of a voice. Energize that power base. I would argue that the money that they're getting for these parties is probably better well spent trying to organize workers. You can have political clout in that way, but you need numbers to do that. Trying to just take the political apparatus doesn't quite get you there in the exact same way. This is kind of what I want to do this. My feeling is, if I can create a situation where you have a conversation with a worker, and you kind of get them to think in the sense of, look, that company is making billions, and you're on food stamps, even though you work 40 hours. Everywhere Walmart goes, it sucks out money from that particular community because those people aren't being paid much. Not to mention the jobs that are being lost in these other areas. Now, if you're having a conversation with that person is getting scammed. Literally. That person may even need to work 2 jobs. They wake up in the morning, do a particular task over and over again, repetitive. They go to sleep, they wake up in the morning, do a particular task over and over again. And for that task, they're paid nickels and dimes. Now, the problem with that is you have a person, a full person with full potential, full energy, range of movement, if given the opportunity. Instead of being given the opportunity to shine and be who they are, they're stuck doing a repetitive task. Because ultimately, we have human frailties and we need to eat. We need to have somewhere safe to stay. Talk to that person. Get that person to see the world in the way that you do. Find the next person and get that person to see the world the way that you do. The world doesn't have to be this way.